Hi there, Dr. Colleen here, also known as Dr. Mom Online. And I just realized as I was setting up the camera that as luck would have it, every day I decide to do a video, especially the live ones, seems to be those are the exact same days where I've gotten less sleep than all the others. So please bear with me. Today I just want to talk about what seems like a pretty simple subject, which is fruit, whether it's really healthy or not, should we be eating it or not. But it has a pretty massive impact when you think about how much fruit many people eat, right? And how often we eat it. So I made some notes to try to keep me on track today. First of all, one point that I like to make in regards to fruit is that it is a real food. It's a whole food, as our kids and I say, it's a God-grown food. So in that sense, it gets a positive check mark, right? But on the other hand, I look at fruit as God's candy. So just like any type of sweet that's out there, moderation is key, and really limiting our intake is more accurate than saying moderation is key. It is high in sugar, God's candy. So another thing that's interesting is that we really don't need it as far as our cellular function, optimal cell function is concerned. We really don't need fruit. It's not a requirement in order for our cells to express optimum health, optimum healthy function. So think back, a lot of where we gain our most valuable nutrition strategies and advice is from our earlier ancestors, whether we go way back to hunter-gatherer or just a few generations back, is very different. So hunter-gatherer, well, I'll lump them together. So like way back, hunter-gatherer, and then even say 2, 3, 4 generations ago, before the mass explosion of the food industry, where we have mass production, where we have foods grown year-round and then transported almost worldwide, right? Certainly intercontinentally. So now we're exposed to all different foods that generations ago we would not have been. We were eating seasonal food, local food, food that was ripened on the vine, not close to ripe, put in a box, shipped for 4 days before it ever gets to you. So it's a very different phenomenon we deal with. So, and also having so many different, I kind of sort of already said this, but so many different types of, in this case, fruit available to us every single day, every single week, every single month of every single year, all day long. You can walk into some of the larger supermarkets, grocery stores, and you have 75 different fruits at your disposal. That's not really natural. I live in Michigan. We don't have pineapple growing abundantly around me here. That should be a very once in a while fruit that I would experience. And then not to mention, because of this mass production of the food industry, and yes, there's blessings in the food industry that we're able to feed people that need to be fed, for sure. I'm talking about for optimal expression of health here. But because of this food industry and the way it just cranks out more and more food, I call them frankenfruits are the result, and frankenfoods are the result. So now we have, for example, an apple that now will come with 15 to 20 grams of sugar in a single apple. So you have to start weighing the benefits. Am I getting enough benefit out of that apple to justify taking in that much sugar in one shot? So what are some of the benefits of fruit? Certainly there's vitamins and micronutrients and fresh fiber, which is one of my favorites. I used to talk a big talk about fruit back in my early Dr. Mom Online days. You can find on this page on YouTube, I know some of you are watching on Facebook. Once I put this over on YouTube, you can look back to some of my earlier videos, and I am talking about starting your day with fresh fiber in the form of fruit. So it's just cringeworthy for me to go back and watch that. But I mean, I could have been feeding my kids ice cream for breakfast instead, I suppose. So at least fruit is a step up, right? And that's certainly an argument I always make, that, okay, if you're comparing fresh fruit to instead having a donut for breakfast or eating a Snickers bar after school, if you have an apple versus a Snickers bar, Yes, they're all high in sugar, but at least the apple is coming with those good phytonutrients that are protective in nature in the fresh fiber. So there are benefits to fruit. Fruit actually does protect our DNA, protects against some of the side effects of more serious chronic illness. Doesn't necessarily prevent us from developing chronic illness, but once it's there, it does have some protective measured simply because of those phytonutrients and the fiber. But again, it's not going to achieve health for us. And by the way, what I say to my kids now, I still tell them fresh fiber first, or fresh fiber with almost every single meal, but now it's in the form of vegetables. Yeah, they eat vegetables for breakfast pretty much every morning, and it's not gross. Keep in mind that as far as fruit is concerned, fruit and fruit juice are not the same for several reasons. So much of the conventional fruit juice especially has been pasteurized, so it's basically just dead. It's been killed. You lose so much of the benefits, the phytonutrients, the enzymes, the vitamins. They're drastically reduced or just completely gone. You lose the fiber benefit as well. And so really what are you left with in most cases with conventional fruit for sure is just super high dose of sugar. Yeah, so skip that. Just if you have to choose between fruit, the whole fruit, and fruit juice, choose the whole fruit every time. So what is the biggest challenge when it comes to fruit, or the biggest concern, I should say, when it comes to fruit? It's the form of sugar in fruit that is so prevalent and not so much in other foods, and that is fructose. So when it comes to many other foods that end up breaking down to glucose, another form of sugar, that glucose in essence is kind of spread throughout the body, whereas fructose 100% is boom, right to the liver. So that brings up a couple good points. One is that because it goes to the liver and not throughout the rest of the body, we don't see the same blood sugar spikes when we consume fruit as we might see with other foods that break down to glucose. So on the surface, that's a pretty good thing, right? We want to keep blood sugar stable, certainly insulin stable. The challenge is, again, because we have this non-stop access to convenience foods, fruit. I mean, you can even walk into a gas station now, and usually there's bananas and apples sitting right there, right? We have constant access to this stuff, and we've been taught that fruit is good for us, so people are trying to get fruit in. Think of all the smoothie places that have opened up, at least I know around us, so people are taking in these high doses of fruit virtually every single day, and many times multiple times per day. So now that liver is saying, oh, hold up. Too much, too often can actually lend itself to the development of insulin resistance, which is a topic of another video, but that's a big deal. That is one of the most important precursors to serious chronic illness, obviously diabetes being one of them. But when the liver becomes overwhelmed and there's just too much fructose coming in, it needs it to stop. It needs it to be limited. It needs to get rid of it somehow so it can keep doing its job with all the other things that need to pass through the liver. So the liver starts to convert it and kind of send it elsewhere to be dealt with. So the liver is going to convert fructose to things like fat, cholesterol, triglycerides. It's crazy. This is all just from eating fruit or eating too much fruit and or too often. So, another thing, if you do consume fruit, and I'm not saying don't consume fruit, I'm just saying put some thought to your fruit consumption, how often, how frequently, I guess that's the same thing, how much each time you're eating, and what's the quality of that fruit. Make sure it's from a whole fruit, not the juice, but also you can't go wrong with organic compared to conventional. Going back to this mass production of food, it's more sprayed, more treated with chemicals to enhance the growing, to protect against bugs and things. Anything that could interfere with the quantity of the final product of that food is being treated, right? Because this is a massive industry now. It's agribusiness. So there's all sorts of treatments applied to the foods that we're eating. So remove yourself from that as much as you can and choose foods that have been treated either not at all or the least amount possible. And I know we don't live in a bubble anymore, so it's hard to have perfect food, but do your best. It matters, especially if you're going to keep eating this. Choose a better source first of all, and then if you can't, if you're stuck with conventional, then do your best to clean, to detoxify. Not just clean, not just wash the surface, but to detoxify. There's lots of Google it, how to really detoxify your fruits and veggies. I normally use some combination. If we have conventional, for whatever reason, I will normally use some type of a soaking rinse that's a combination of food grade hydrogen peroxide and white vinegar, and then rinsed very, very carefully. But you can Google that and find some good options as well. So that's organic was one of my tips there. And then, so go back to limit your consumption. You don't need it to be healthy. You don't need it daily. Consider the quantity that you are eating. Think about this before you take your kids through a drive-through to get one of those giant smoothies that costs $8, $9 that has 1,000 different fruits in it and all the sugar that's in there. And then they even add sugar in many of these places, which just boggles my mind. It's already sugar. It's fruit. It's God's candy. If you do eat it, berries are best. Choose organic when you can, or clean with a good detoxifying solution. Whole fruit versus the juice. Seasonal and local. Keep that in mind when you're shopping for fruit. Look at them and like, does this stuff even grow anywhere where I live? Not that you can never have it. I mean, not that you can never have it. Just be cautious. We don't need an overabundance of it, and always keep in mind that it is candy. That's why it tastes so good. And if you're not already consuming organic fruit, once you make that switch to organic, let me know if you agree with me on this. I know my family thinks this. Organic just tastes so much better. Maybe it's in my head, but I swear I can taste chemicals when I eat conventional fruit. So, quality does matter there. So if you have some feedback on this, if you've got some tips, tricks, strategies that you've employed to really upgrade your fruit choices, or how you've made a switch. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Comment below here. And then if you'd like some more simple tips and strategies for upgrading to making healthier choices, not necessarily harder choices, then I encourage you to check out the nutrition package I've put together that includes the Healthy School Days menu, which I've said it a million times, it's not just for students, it's for all ages, plus my top nutrition tips, my Bullseye Daily Food Guide, my recipes and resources. That's the Dr. Mom Nutrition Bundle. I'll put the link for that in the comments below as well. Check it out. It's only 29 bucks now. It's a really cool thing to keep in your kitchen, so every member of the family is literally on the same page when it comes to making simple, healthy nutrition choices. All right, I will be back next time with another simple tip and strategy for you. See you soon.